What's up, guys? Venomous here, and I got a brand new OTGT for you. This time I'm talking about Epic Mickey. Now, Epic Mickey is probably one of the biggest hyped up games of 2010, in my opinion. The reason being is because, unlike games like was it Call of Duty Black Ops and Fallout New Vegas, people pretty much knew what to expect from those particular type of games, being first-person shooter, RPG, whatever. With Epic Mickey's case, nobody really knew what this game was about. Nobody really knew what this game was really going to consist of, and nobody really knew what was going to happen when this game was released at a specific given point in time. But here's the thing about it, and here's my overall opinion, because I've been exposed to the game, I've played it, I've seen a whole bunch of footage online and stuff, and I've pretty much gotten the general consensus of what this game is all about. Now, here's the thing about the game: it does have its problems, and the biggest problems being, number one, the camera. And a lot of stuff, especially it's very similar to the old N64 type of platformers like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, etc. Pretty much the same exact idea with the camera, where it kind of gets in tight corners. Pretty much, you can't really see what's going on, or what's going on with the camera, or what's around the character, whatnot, around Mickey Mouse. There's also spikes in difficulty. In certain areas, there's like an overabundance of enemies when you're trying to actually do specific things, depending on what type of ending you want to get. And also the annoying kind of like side platform levels when you're going in between worlds, when you're trying to travel in between places, when you have to do those over and over and over again. I understand that. Those are pretty much some of the big problems with this game. But what I love about this game, and what I think is probably really excels at and kind of really brings to the table, is number one, the originality and the concept behind the whole, paint thinner and everything about Epic Mickey. This is probably the one game that's, really brought Mickey into the spotlight. It already seems like a lot of old school characters, in video games and also in other forms of media, are kind of like stepping out of the shadows after being kind of hidden away for so long. With Mickey's case, I think if I'm correct, I believe the last big, solo game that Mickey Mouse had was Castle of Illusions on the Sega Genesis. I could be wrong. There could have been one or two more besides that, but I'm not counting Kingdom Hearts, because Kingdom Hearts was a cross, what was it, franchise between Disney and Square Enix. I'm talking about a solo Mickey game, so that's why I say Castle of Illusions. But anyway, thing about this is that it brings such originality in both story and gameplay elements, and plot to it. Really, I did not expect, to be so much, kind of Disney nostalgia and Disney history and Disney, references all over the place with this game. Now, I understood that it was a Disney game, but who really thought that at one point we'd be seeing someone like Oswald the Rabbit and Mickey Mouse in the same video game, or even in the same cartoon, or even same media? Plain and simple. There's a whole bunch of other Disney characters in there that, from way back in the early days of Walt Disney cartoons in the black and white age era, maybe even before Steamboat Willie, that make an appearance in this game, which for anyone that's, really attuned to how, their animation cartoons and their animation history, this is pretty much gold for them, because there's so many references and so many nuances to those characters, or to those plot points, or to those, specific cartoons, that it's going to make any, aficionado of any type of like old school Disney cartoon really go nuts for it. And that's what this game really plays on. It plays on both the factor of nostalgia and and about curiosity, and about being, and mischief also, I should say. It's really interesting, and I love the concept behind the whole paint and thinner type of aspect between being able to create and destroy. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was cool because it really kind of plays on the fact of how you can approach a situation, and it kind of forces you it doesn't really force you to do something specific. You kind of are given the choice, and depending on what choice you do makes the game either harder or simpler. For example, you could be in a room with a bunch of guys, and and in order to get the specific good ending of the game, you have to be able to befriend and not really use so much thinner in the world that's around you. You have to be able to befriend a lot of the characters and a lot of the enemies that come towards you, except for the mechanical ones, because the mechanical ones you have to destroy. I'm talking about the characters that are comprised of ink. If you actually, in certain areas when there's a lot of enemies around you, if you start using paint and stuff, they're going to be constantly targeting you and throwing stuff at you. Meanwhile, if you have chosen the thinner route, which is kind of like the evil Mickey route, You just throw some thinner on them and pretty much it's over and done with in 2 seconds. But just the simple fact that you want to get that specific ending is kind of this kind of challenge you have to kind of grind yourself through, which I know for a lot of people could be very frustrating, but it gives you kind of like a play on how you could approach different situations. It also changes up the environment too, which I thought was interesting, because you could go into a specific area, do something, and won't get access to another area because of some of the actions that you might have done or some of the things that you might have done in the area beforehand. For example, you could go to one area, use thinner in a certain specific spot and kind of destroy something, and then when you continue on, you won't have access to a secret area you didn't know about just because you destroyed something previous, and vice versa. If you didn't and you found another way around it, not only would you continue on your quest, but you'd be able to access that secret area in that other specific spot that you normally wouldn't have been able to if you had used thinner, which is cool because there's different scenarios and different outcomes for different things that you could do. And also on top of that, the boss fights. The boss fights are pretty interesting, especially the very first one being kind of, or even if you could really consider that a boss fight, the Mad Doctor in the beginning, because each boss has a way to beat them both with paint to befriend them and also thinner to pretty much destroy them. Each boss has that ability to do that, and it's pretty much however you do the certain actions with the bosses and stuff also contribute to the ending. Everything you pretty much do, whether it's good or bad, contributes to the type of ending that you're going to get. So if you want the good ending, you have to pretty much be goody two-shoes Mickey Mouse, pretty much the traditional, facade or traditional persona that Mickey Mouse is. If not, then you're going to get something completely different and possibly a really bad ending, depending on what you do. Now, there's a lot of different things to collect in here. There's the different tokens, the different parts, to help some of Mickey's friends, like the mechanical versions of like Donald Duck, Goofy, Daisy Duck, etc. Pretty much. It's really interesting. So, bottom line, the concept is here. Pretty much the idea and the thoughts and, the kind of means to an end is there. As far as like what this game is about. The execution and the actual process of going through and creating a game and programming it was pretty much had a lot of problems, and that's pretty much the thing that really kind of got on people's nerves, is how bad and how I should say, I'm trying to say how bad, or I'm not trying to say how bad, but pretty much the way things are controlled, especially with the Wiimote, kind of like targeting the actual, different enemies and different objects with the paint or the thinner. The camera being probably the biggest problem that everybody has. Disney, or pretty much the game developers, had the idea of what they wanted to do, but the execution was just so bad. I'm pretty sure this type of game is going to get a sequel, so I'm pretty sure that Disney's probably going to take a lot of the feedback or a lot of the backlash that a lot of people were having about this game and really improve upon what was going on, because I'm pretty sure this is probably the development team's first time or first attempt at making a game. So like I said, sequel more than if there is a sequel, which I'm pretty sure there will be, more than likely is going to be a lot better. But I would love to see another game like this, or another game as a sequel to Epic Mickey, because there's just so much good story elements and so much potential with something like this. The possibilities are endless. You could give it to someone who really knows how to actually make a game and put the thought process behind it from Disney, and you're going to have a really good, solid game, maybe even a contender for Game of the Year, if they actually meld both the thought process and the execution perfectly. That's just my thought, guys. I was like one of the many people that really wanted to love this game. I was disappointed at some of the problems there, but I still have that little shred of light of hope for this actual franchise to kind of improve on itself if there is another sequel to it. If there is a sequel to it to create a franchise. So anyway, that's my thoughts, guys. Leave your comments and video responses. I don't mind. Just keep it civil. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys are really waiting on this series, or at least waiting on this game, if you guys are really hyped up about it, and if you really, really wanted to check it out, or if you were disappointed, if you were satisfied, put it on here in the comments section. Let us know about it. So anyway, my thoughts. Venomous is gone, people. I will talk to you all later, and that was only the goddamn truth. Enjoy your day.